guys, I'm Jessie, and today I am going to talk to you about all of the books that I'm super excited about that come out in the month of August. Alright, so this is another edition of my anticipated releases. I'm trying to do these every single month because I find breaking them down month to month just makes it easier. Because there's so many books that are coming out that it's really hard to do just like one at the beginning of the year or even like two videos where it's like the first half of the year, the second half of the year. Because honestly, there's ones that are coming out that I'm like, I never heard about that when I was like originally looking for books like at the beginning of the year. So like dates change and I felt like doing them monthly made more sense. So these are the books that I'm most excited about for August. Obviously, these are not all the August releases, and I probably won't read all of these, like at least not right away, but there's so many good books coming out that it's hard not to talk about them. So I believe I have 7 to talk about today. So not too many, but they just add up to that giant never-ending TBR, you know? So let's get started with all the books that I'm excited about in the month of August. Alright, so coming out on August 24th is Devil in the Device by Laura Beth Johnson. This is the sequel to Goddess in the Machine. I'm not sure if this is a duology, so if this is the end to the series or if this is a trilogy and it's a middle book, but I'm really excited to see what happens after the end of Goddess in the Machine. I ended up getting it in an Owl Crate box, reading it and really enjoying the first book. Not a favorite, definitely not like a new favorite, but it was really good. We follow this girl who was asleep for 1,000 years basically in like cryo sleep, and then she's finally woken up and everybody believes that she's like this goddess that's supposed to like save them. And she kind of teams up with this like bastard son of the king, I think, something along those lines. And it's really strange, so it's really jarring, the language used, because they take you, 1,000 years into the future and it's supposed to be, futuristic, but it's like the language is like how English would have evolved, I guess. And it's super jarring at first. Like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's like a made up language, but you're reading an entire perspective pretty much from that like made up language. And it's easy enough to understand, but it's still like really jarring at first. So like that was one thing I didn't really love about the first one, but the end of the book, I was like, I need to know what happens next because like some shit went down and I need to know what happens. So I'm very excited to read Devil in the Device. Next up, and coming out on August 3rd, is A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. This one is supposed to be for fans of Wilder Girls and Ninth House. And I loved Ninth House. Haven't read Wilder Girls, but this is supposed to be like a dark academia with witches. And it says it is a dark, twisty, atmospheric thriller about a boarding school haunted by its history of witchcraft and 2 girls dangerously close to digging up the past. I don't know about you, but that sounds really cool to me. A little outside of my typical like higher fantasy comfort zone, but I've been really loving like dark academia. Like I really loved Ninth House and it's compared to Ninth House. So that's really all I needed to know. And I'm really excited to get to it. Another August 3rd release is a Dragon Bird in the Fern. And I actually have a NetGalley copy of this that I'm gonna try to get to this coming month. And this is by Laura Ruker. This is a book about an assassin. So we love assassins. Actually, assassins are really hit or miss, but it's like one of those buzzwords that it's like, I'm either gonna love this or hate this. But it's when an assassin kills Princess Jara's older sister, her vengeful ghost is doomed to walk the city of the glittering canals, tormenting loved ones until the murderer is brought to justice. While an entire kingdom mourns, Celia's betrothed arrives and requests that 17-year-old Jara take her sister's place as his bride to confirm the alliance between their countries. Okay, so she's supposed to marry her dead sister's betrothed. That sounds interesting. And obviously she's trying to like find out who murdered her sister. Talks more about like evidence of the assassin. Like, I want to know who this is. To save her family, she must find her sister's killer before he murders them all. Like, ew. So hopefully I'll get to this soon. I have a NetGalley arc and it sounds really interesting. Next is The Witch Haven by Sasha Payton Smith. This comes out on the 31st of August. So like the very end of them. This one again is like a historical fiction fantasy, which I've been really gravitating towards lately. It says it is like The Last Magician meets The Lady's Guides to Petticoat and Piracy. In this thrilling atmospheric historical fantasy following a young woman who discovers she has magical powers and thrusts into a battle between witches and wizards. And it is set in 1911 New York City. So you've got like the historical elements, you've got witches and wizards, you've got magic. Like, I'm here for it. Yes, sign me up. Let's do it. Another one that sounded really interesting that I don't think I've heard like anyone mention or talk about is Mark of the Wicked, and this is by Georgia Bowers. It's got a really pretty cover too. Like, this cover is so cool. I think it's like horror, but it's like YA horror, so like I can handle it. It comes out on August 10th, and the synopsis says it's a young witch trying to unravel the mystery of who is framing her for dark magic in Georgia Bowers' creepy YA debut fantasy, Mark of the Wicked. So this is a debut, and it's like a dark YA fantasy. Kind of witchy, horror-y. I'm there for. And the cover's just really cool. Another like historical fiction fantasy, which obviously seems to be my thing lately, is Beyond the Mapped Stars by Rosalind Eves. This is supposed to come out on August 24th. And it is a sweeping adventure set in the late 19th century about science, love, and finding your place in the world. Perfect for fans of Ruta Sepetys and Julie Berry. So I don't even know if this is fantasy. I think this is just historical fiction, light sci-fi, because it's like space. 17-year-old Elizabeth dreams of becoming an astronomer, but she knows such dreams are unreachable as the stars she so deeply adores. A Mormon girl, her duty is to her family, and in a not too far away future, the man who will choose to marry her. Okay, I do remember putting this on the list. This is not fantasy. This is just like historical fiction with space, but I put it on here because of the space and because it follows a Mormon girl, which is something I'm very interested in. Obviously, I read Heretics Anonymous, loved it. I've told my story kind of about how I went to private school, and it was like a whole thing, and like my religious upbringing and stuff like that. So I'm really always interested in that, and it feels like it's like a book where she kind of struggles with that. She struggles with her identity and her religion, and I love that. And obviously this is set in the 19th century, so I'm here for it. I'm so here for this one. Another one is The Hand of the Sun King by J.T. Greathouse. This comes out on August 5th, and the synopsis sounded just like interesting because I'm not used to when a synopsis is like the character is speaking in the synopsis. Like, I'm used to it being like, this is what the book's about, but this is like, I'll just read it to you to understand, but it's like, my name is Wyn Alder. My name is Foolish Cur. All my life, I have been torn between two legacies. That of my father, whose roots trace back to the right hand of the emperor, and that of my mother's family, who reject the oppressive empire and embrace the resistance. I can choose between them, between protecting my family or protecting my people, or I can search for a better path, a magical path, filled with secrets unbound by empire or resistance, which could shake my world to its very foundation. But for my search for freedom, it will entangle me in a war between the gods themselves. Now, that just sounds super cool, right? Like, I love that. It's like you're torn between these two different decisions, and they're both halves of you, and like, what do you do? And there's magic, and I'm there. I'm down. There's like a resistance, and it's like, it just sounds super good, and I'm here for that. The next one is another NetGalley arc that I have, and that is the Maleficent 7 by Cameron Johnson. I've never heard of this one. I saw it on NetGalley and like requested it because it sounded really cool. It's supposed to come out on August 10th. And this is a book about villains. And I'm pretty sure everybody in this book is a villain. And the synopsis says, when you are all out of heroes, all that's left are villains. Black Hernan was a dread demonologist and the most ruthless general in all of Esseron. She assembled the 6 most fearsome warriors to captain her armies, a necromancer, a vampire lord, a demigod, an orcish war leader, a pirate queen, and a twisted alchemist. Together, they brought the whole continent to its knees until the day she abandoned her army on the eve of total victory. 40 years later, she must bring her former captains back together for one final stand in the small town of Tarnbrook, the last bastion against a fanatical new enemy tearing through the land, intent on finishing the job Black Heron had started years before. 7 bloodthirsty monsters, 1 town, their last hope. What? How does that not sound awesome? Like, we're literally following the villains, and it's like, are they villains? Are they anti-heroes? Like, they tried to like destroy the world, but now they're trying to save it? Like, that just sounds super cool. And like all the things they meant, the pirate queen and the warriors, and down for it. And the final book that I'm excited about in the month of August is Reclaimed by Madeline Rue. This comes out on August 17th, and this is like a sci-fi. So I'm really excited for it. This is in a claustrophobic science fiction thriller. A woman begins to doubt her own sanity and reality itself when she undergoes a dangerous experiment. Ganymede Compound is a fresh start. At least that's what Senna tells herself when she arrives to take part in this cutting-edge scientific treatment where participants have traumatic memories erased, and Senna has reasons for wanting to escape her past. But as soon as the treatment begins, Senna finds more than just her traumatic memories disappearing. She hardly recognizes her new life or herself, even though the symptoms for the process might justify the cure. Senna knows that something isn't right. As her symptoms worsen, Senna will need to band together with the other participants to unravel the mystery of her present and save her future. That sounds so good. Like, definitely not my typical, high fantasy, but it sounds really cool and like a fast read, like a really like thrilling read, and I'm here for it. August is like a weird month. I feel like all the books I'm excited about in August are like outside of my comfort zone. Like, they're not like big epic fantasies, which is what I normally read. I feel like there's like, sci-fi, there's like a regular historical fiction, there's like, light fantasy. So like there's so many books coming out, and I'm trying to kind of get outside my comfort zone a little bit. So these are the ones that I'm just very excited for in the month of August. All right, thank you guys for hanging out with me. Let me know if there are any of these books that you're excited about, that you think that I should prioritize, or what other books did I not mention that come out in August that you're really excited. Well, my name is Jessie, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.